Hello everyone. Yeah, greetings from CHA. Having a good time, right?
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thanks.
I know you're gone, but not for long. You'll be back someday, I know that for sure. But if you never stop smiling, I'll never start moving on. First it may be a struggle to get back on your feet. No matter what you believe, we all share the same basic needs. We all wanna be loved.
So, if I want to create something like this, you know, I can go in and use all these little minis, and I can work on a surface just using mini. So here, if I'm going to work, let's just say with wood grain, I can start with a light color if I want, and I can pounce it over the top, and I can also twist it. I mean, that's kind of the thing to remember with this little tool. It does allow you to apply the inks a little bit different. So here I can create some shadow. I can even create a little bit darker, and then I can go in just to fade this out. And so it just depends on your stencil and the lines of it. I always tell people when you're stenciling, with any tool, you need to follow the lines of that. If your lines are running linear, that needs to be kind of the way you're working. You don't want to be working this way because you don't want the stencil to skip around. And I'm not a big taper of the stencil. I know people do. That requires time and thought, and not me. Alright, so then if I want to just, again, create a little bit of shadow, that's simple. And then you can mist over it, or you can say, oh, you know what, now I want to go in with some color, and I just want to ink a little bit of the outside edges just to kind of smudge that in. Yeah, it does. I think it makes it a lot easier for customers too that have that intimidation factor of distress. I've learned that at this show. There's a lot of people that are still intimidated with that tool because they can't control it. They're getting a little crazy. And the design of this, when you press down, see, it pushes that foam out, so it immediately rounds off that edge. It lifts that edge off of the surface. So that's why when I'm working with that, I'm able to pounce, and I don't get the lines, because when you pounce down, the line lifts off the surface. Yeah.
That's great.
It's pretty cool. And with paint, same way. So paint allows you to go in and blend different colors of paint. I think I have a tool here that has paint on it. Wow, if you clean the blending tool right here, it's really on. So for this, let's take something a little bit more detailed. This one's good. Take lattice work. So for this, we'll add some light colors of paints. We'll add a little brighter color of paint. We can add some green. And then we can take the tool itself. And this is just going to allow us to really play with paint a different way. And I like that because I think, again, sometimes we want to work on craft, or we want to work on chipboard, or we want to work on paper mache, we want to work on wood, we want to work on different surfaces other than paper. That a translucent medium is not going to work well. So paint, the fact that it's opaque, is really going to be nice, and just giving the ability of taking that and just kind of softening it out. And I like to work out from the edge. I don't normally, make everything solid. That's cool. So you can see just that gradation of color. It's cool.
You're loving your light there.
I use it a lot. It's how I use it at home. Into these colors, we've also completely revamped the alcohol ink packaging. We kind of replaced that classic mountain range with something just a little bit more friendly. It just talks about the product. They're alcohol inks. So I wanted to call that out, do a white background, a little bit more colorful. And these are really great to create some backgrounds. Just to show you some of the intense colors it has, like for example, this is indigo. It creates a super, super deep color, as well as some brighter colors. And I'll show you how we've done stuff like this. In addition to this, we've also gone in, relabeled the alcohol blending solution. This is something very basic. Blending solution is to alcohol ink what water is to watercolor. So cool. It's the way that you would thin this out. We can create lighter colors, we can create blends of color, and we can remove the color, which is key. Another thing we've revamped is the blending pen. This was a fillable pen that was really going to go away because people were thinking this pen was designed to fill with alcohol ink. You can do that, but once you fill it, it's that color for life. So what I was trying to get the message across is that you only need one pen and you should fill it with blending solution. Because by putting blending solution in here, it allows us to blend our colors. It's a dual tip pen. It has a fine tip, it also has a brush tip. You simply pull this and you can pull the nib out of the pen, put the blending solution in it, squeeze for about 3 seconds and let it soak into there, and then you can continue to go back and add that blending solution. So what's cool about this is that blending solution, even though I can do backgrounds with this pen allows me to take alcohol inks and use them different ways. I can make a palette. So this is dry alcohol ink. It's 2 drops of alcohol ink in there. It dries up. I can go in and print my labels. So this is right on Ranger's website. You can print your color labels, do a circle punch, and label your palette. But now I can go with my pen. Let's see if I have any gloss paper. I'll grab some.
Here's some.
Got some glossy? Oh, thanks. So I can take glossy cardstock or something like that, and I can go into any of this dry ink, and I can pick up this color, and I can color with it. Right? So I can create that instant shade. If I want to go in with kind of a deep blue, I can go in and color that. And as I color, it's just going to continue to blend and soften that all the way out. Right? So this really gives you control, and it's going to clean itself because it removes itself. It's kind of a self-cleaning pen. You can create custom colors. So I can go into many wells and not worry about contaminating my inks because all my inks are dry. Okay, so if I have embellishments, mirrored stars, or metal accents that I want to get my inks out and drip, this is just a really convenient way to pick up alcohol ink and transfer it. And that was really the purpose of having that blending pen. Because people were like, I already have Copic markers, I don't need to fill. And I'm like, no, it's not that kind of coloring system. It's just a tool, because you cannot put blending solution in something like this. It'll eat the plastic. So you might think it'll work, but give it about, a few months, bye-bye. Yeah, you pick this up and all the bristles, everything's gone. I only know that. Times 70 out of my fortune. Alright, so if we're going to do an alcohol ink background, super simple. I'll just show you some really quick ways, and maybe some different ways that you can use alcohol inks for backgrounds for your customers. So the first way is pretty standard. It's just going to be kind of our agate background. I can take some of the colors, just squeeze some colors right on that surface. Now remember, these colors are far more intense color-wise, so you don't need to use big squeezes of color. Just going to use smaller amounts of color this time, especially like on indigo. It's a really, really rich color. Take our mixative, shake that up to kind of mix the pigments. 1 little dot of that, because this is a metallic, we don't need too much of that. And then we can go and stamp this on a surface. Now, when we stamp this on a surface, this is what's going to dispense the color initially. Okay? Don't worry about what it looks like, because we have to go back and blend it. Blending solution is the key to this. So I can go in and just add blending solution to it. And the more blending solution I add, the more it's just going to start to mix and react those inks. And every time I layer over it, it's going to rehydrate it. So most people think, I need to add more ink. No, usually you just need more blending solution. It'll react by going direct on the surface if you add it that way. It'll start to create that reaction. Every time you add it, or if you add some to the tool, if you don't like that look, you can still stamp over it and always blend those out. So alcohol ink is one of, I think, the most forgiving products that we have because it's working on slick surfaces. So glossy paper, vellum, transparency, metal, plastic, glass, any of those, you're going to create those really cool effects. And here we were just showing that if you want to create a much lighter effect, you can drip blending solution straight on a surface, let it sit, and then start applying heat to it. Heat through blending solution will create almost a bleaching effect. So sometimes people want to create a much lighter area or an area that maybe you want to stamp in. And what that heat does, you can see how it's starting to bleach out that paper. It just kind of burns through that ink.
Yeah,
it's weird. And it's not going to ignite. I do it by candlelight. And you'll see, you'll see in the true color that you get that dent. And if you didn't like that, if you're like, oh wait, I want to soften that out, great. Just go right over the top of that. You can always relayer this ink over and over and over again. And then we can stamp it. Okay, so let's do this one. So if I'm going to stamp on this, let's just take something simple. Take that. So here I want to add just a little bit of interest. There we go. I like that. I like those effects. I do. I like those little dots. Kind of work out some of those because I don't want it to look too polka dotted. So when I work on an alcohol ink background, you can tell most of the time I work on part of it and I like to cut apart what I like the most. So for this, if I'm going to stamp, you want to stamp with archival ink. I'm going to make sure that blending solution is dry. I want to stamp with archival ink because archival ink is going to be waterproof. And stamping on a slick surface, we want to work with that. So I'm just going to tap that on, get my image inked up. Maybe I want to go in, stamp that out with normal pressure, get our image. Maybe I want to do something for a background, like the script, like I've done here. Here I'm just going to go in and just going to wipe my ink over the top, and that's going to allow me to give normal pressure, but get a lighter generation. So it creates a background effect. Okay, alright, thanks. So anytime you're stamping with any kind of ink, if you swipe it over the stamp instead of tap it, you'll always get that second generation, like as if you stamped off. You're always going to get it to stamp lighter. That's what I was showing here. Full strength, or if you swipe it, which makes it pretty neat. Simple way. So this background, easy. This was just taking ink, putting it on the craft sheet, and just taking my paper and just wiping it out. Picking it up. Like a monoprint couldn't be, I mean, it's the easiest. I'll show that real quick before I clean up. I have the inks out. I'll have time. Wendy should be here soon. So here I can take my metallic. I can take whatever colors I want. So let's use some different colors. We'll use some botanical. We might use a little bit of indigo. Maybe we'll use some mermaid. Like cooking. A little bit of honeycomb and blending solution. Because blending solution is what's going to make everything work. Give me kind of movement in the inks. And then you're just going to take your paper and you're just going to go right through it. Create a background. And you just draw it. And the whole thing is, like, when you first do this, you just, what would I ever do with this? But when you stamp on it, I'll stamp on this. So to clean this, I'm just going to use a little blending solution, or you could use, like if I was teaching a class with alcohol ink, I would never have them clean with this. It's a waste. I would have them clean with hand sanitizer. Anything alcohol will clean this off of your craft sheet. So I wouldn't have them take all their bottles of blending solution out and clean the table. No. Yeah, because if you try to get the inks to move like this with rubbing alcohol, they won't. Try to get them to move like that with other solvents, they won't. This has a resin that makes those colors kind of float across one another. So here we can take the big face. Pick this up. And we'll go in, let's stamp her out. Cool, huh? Yeah, see, now that looks good as a background. Yeah, at first you do it and you're like, oh, that's like a mess. I would never do that. Yeah. You know, maybe we want to use part of an image. Just use parts of stamps. You don't always have to use the entire stamp. You can just use parts that you want to use. You know, same thing like this. This is always, you know, alphabet stamps are good background. So by swiping it, again, that's just going to allow us to go in and just stamp and get a background without taking away from anything else. Yeah, it makes you look like you did all this work, but you didn't. Then if we want to spritz over the top of it, let's take black. Go in with a little bit of black ink. And we'll just spray through it. This. Probably just use a layering stencil. So here, I'm just going to spritz some of that marker right through it. I'll show you when the true color hits. And it's all, yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, so you'll see it, you know, when you go into true color, then you can see all the layers of that. It's cool, and I love just those little speckles in the background. But see, backgrounds like this, like they just freak people out. You know, you swipe through and they're just like, doesn't look good. I'm like, you have to just be done. That's the thing about like this technique. The hardest part of that technique is just stopping. You know, really, you have to swipe, 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 and be done. You can't look at it and go, oh wait, there's a little white area, or this, you know, or this is too dark. And just like, you're done. Pick the part that you like the best and stamp. Because you may not like the whole background. You may say, oh, you know what, I really don't like this. Okay, we'll crop that out as a card. Or maybe you didn't like all the red. You know, but you can always find a part of that background that you like. So whenever I do this, I'm always working on like quarter cut cardstock, so I can still pick and choose, you know, what I like better. That one turned out really good.
I like it.
I just got lucky. Yeah. There you go. All right, I'm going to clean up, and Wendy will be here. You're staying around for Wendy.